So, for those just joining us, this is my analysis on the 2007 movie Transformers, and why it's not as terrible as everyone thinks it is. Without further ado, let's get into it. My name is Paul, and this is Plot Spot. Welcome to Plot Spot, the place where we analyze stories and try to determine what makes them succeed or fail. Last time, I laid out my methodology of trying to be objective, covered Optimus's opening narration, Blackout's attack on Soxent, and the intro to Sam Witwicky. This time, we are going to meet one of the best characters in this film, as well as one of the weaker ones. So Sam's father, Ron, takes Sam to get a car and plays a cruel prank on him by bringing him to a Porsche dealership and implying he would buy him one. Instead, they go to a used car dealership / petting zoo across the street, followed by a mysterious yellow Camaro that appears to have no driver. As Sam complains about the poor quality of vehicles at this fine and upstanding establishment, Ron decides to bring up the Witwicky motto of no sacrifice, no victory.
No sacrifice,
no victory. You know, I got it. The old Witwicky motto.
Right.
Oddly, after Sam says about not being able to get laid with any of the cars here. I guess Ron is not concerned about his son's sexual activity, which is implied later in the movie. But this is a good place to touch on the Witwicky motto, which Captain Archibald had said in the flashback in the Arctic. I think it's a good motto that fits the theme of the movie, even if it is a little clunky in this particular scene. As with many parts of this movie, it would have been better served being leaned into more, but it gets the job done, and we see it play out later in the movie. It also would have been good if the other movies tried to play on the theme, besides simple nostalgia bait.
Without sacrifice, there can be no victory.
And we are also introduced to the amazing character of Bobby Bolivia. His charisma and dialogue are just stellar. You can't help but smile when he comes on screen. He also has one of my favorite exchanges in the movie.
Hey, mammy! Oh, don't be like that. If I had a rock, I'll bust your head, bitch.
Meanwhile, Bumblebee rolls up into this little shindig unnoticed. Bobby, however, the eagle-eyed wheeler and dealer that he is, quickly picks up on Bumblebee not being part of his premium stock. Despite not hearing back from his mechanic Manny about the car after telling him to look into it, he offers to sell it to the Witwickies for $5,000. Now, what the hell is Uncle Bobby B thinking? He can't sell a car without a title, not to anyone with a brain at least, unless, of course, the title just happened to be in Bumblebee's glove box. For those who don't know what a title is, such as the writers of this movie, a title is a document that proves you have rightful ownership of a car, house, boat, or anything really. It means someone can't just come up and say that your car belongs to him. Therefore, because you don't have proof of ownership, it's not so easy to just steal a car and sell it to some unsuspecting schmuck. This is why stolen cars usually go to chop shops to be parted out. It's harder to track individual parts. Now, you can buy a car without a title. That's legal, but if you want to, I don't know, drive it down the road like a normal person, you need to put license plates and insurance on it.
With my luck, he's probably your cousin, with no damn insurance.
In which case, the government wants to see the title, to know you didn't steal the dang thing.
I hope you didn't kill anyone I know for it, huh?
Yes, I know you can get a bonded title in most states, including California, but would you really do that? Go through the process of getting a bonded title after buying a car with no title from some guy you've never met, right after he says,
I don't know nothing about this car.
I don't think so. Not when you have other options. You'd have to be really, really stupid to do that. Because if it ends up that the car is stolen, do you know who's on the hook for that bond? Yup, it's this guy. The big, smart, genius person who bought a car from some guy he never met from a sketchy place that has ostriches on his property that puts heat-stroke-prone individuals in clown makeup.
I'm hot, makeup smelting, hurts my eyes.
That says he's never seen this particular car before. Great job, Ron. Doing the Witwicky family proud. No sacrifice, no victory, I guess. And this brings up another question. Does Bumblebee have a unique VIN, or is it the same as the car he scanned? Because if it is the same, that's going to be a problem real quick, and the evidence will point to that it is the same. Because Blackout's tail number, 4500X, matched a pre-existing helicopter that had been shot down, alerting them to a problem in the first place. So if those numbers are an exact match, surely that's the same for a vehicle's VIN. But like I said, that's a problem. That means Bumblebee matches another Camaro out there, and this will get flagged when the Witwickies go to get plates, thus blowing Bumblebee's cover. The only thing I can think of is that he's not trying to maintain his cover for long, and just needs it until he gets the glasses. But, as I mentioned earlier, you kind of need to get a title to drive the car, so the clock's ticking. So, as I mentioned earlier, after Ron gets the brilliant idea to ask how much the car is, Bobby Bolivia says that it's $5,000, owing to the custom-faded paint job. Ron counters that they're not paying over $4,000, which is a smart move, so they move on to the next one, which is a yellow VW Bug. I do like the nod back to the original Transformers cartoon. Would have been nice if they had more of that thought process throughout the series, as opposed to just creating a slapdash mess of whatever the hell this all is. Well, Bumblebee's on an important mission to find the Allspark and protect Sam, I guess? We'll get to that later, but that doesn't matter now. What matters is that B has a mission, damn it. He would never abandon his post for any reason. So he just smacks that G1 fanwag nonsense like a redheaded stepchild. And when that doesn't work, he lets out some kind of sonic attack that shatters all of the windows of every car in the parking lot, financially ruining Bobby Bolivia. Good job upholding the Autobot principles, B. But seriously, that's not my problem with this scene. Well, not exactly. I can buy that Bumblebee would see the fates of Earth and Cybertron as more important than some random used car salesman's business. What I'm more concerned about is being incognito. I don't have much of a problem with him opening his door to damage the car next to him. While strange, it could potentially be written off as an example of the Camaro falling apart. But what about the sonic attack? It destroys all the windows in the other cars, but not Bumblebee's. Why? I guess it's because of his Cybertronian physique, but shouldn't that be suspicious? Not the worst thing in the world, but I think it would make Sam and Ron hesitant to buy him. Then again, considering Ron is fine with buying a car without a title, maybe it would be a plot hole to not buy it. No matter the situation, Uncle Bobby B decides to sell the Autobot Scout for $4,000. The scene changes to Washington, D.C. Here, we are introduced to Secretary of Defense John Keller as he gives a briefing to a room full of analysts and military personnel. He describes how SockSense was attacked, and as far as everyone knows, there are no survivors. Of course, we learn later that Lennox's team managed to escape, but obviously they haven't found that out yet. Keller goes on to explain that they don't know who perpetrated the assault or what they were after. Although, they do know the attackers were trying to hack into the military network, and that they were cut off during the operation. This leads the military to correctly believe they're going to attempt another hack. The only lead they have so far on who could be behind it is the sound that Blackout and later Frenzy emit as they are hacking into the network. We're also introduced to Maggie Madsen. Kind of. She isn't named until much later in the movie. She doesn't even talk in this scene. She and other civilian analysts are recruited to help get to the bottom of this attack, and hopefully prevent it from happening again. Keller dismisses them to get to work, bidding everyone good luck. Overall, this is a good scene, except for Maggie. The filmmakers did a good job of capturing the uncertainty that would surely envelop everyone in the wake of such an attack. It sets up Keller and the signal, although I do have a couple of problems with this scene. The first is a minor one that I think would have added more depth. I think not seeing the aftermath of Blackout's attack is a wasted opportunity, especially since it could have easily been inserted as B-roll while Keller is talking. Having a group of soldiers picking through the utter devastation of the airbase would have demonstrated the sheer power of the Decepticons, adding to the military's bafflement of who could have done this. I also think it's a strange choice to not have Maggie talk during this scene, and we have to wait to get fully introduced to her later on. I'll go into depth about this later when I talk about her character, but they deleted part of her backstory that would have set her up. I'm guessing it was done pretty late since they didn't refilm this scene to give a proper introduction. Isn't it odd that we have our most prominent secondary character not even talk in her opening scene? They should have rewritten it when they cut her other scenes because it stands out how it is now. Of course, I think the film would have proved better if she had been cut out entirely, but I'll address that later. All in all, though, I give this scene a thumbs up. Now, let's get back to our daring hero. Sam talks to his chihuahua, Mojo, about getting his car, saying that now that he has one, all he needs is the girl, specifically the money to take out the girl. You have to admire his determination. He thinks money is his only issue, not anything to do with his personality. Wish I could be as deluded as him. Also, this scene sets up a completely pointless scene later in the movie by showing that Mojo needs pain pills. The scene changes to outside where Ron and Sam's mom, Judy, are doing yard work. And I guess this is a good place to say this. I kind of like Sam's parents. I know, I'm weird, but I like characters that are purposely written to be annoying. If a character is annoying, but that's not their main point as characters, such as, say, Wesley Crusher or Ray, then I tend not to like them. But if we're talking about characters that other characters in the movie are annoyed by, then I tend to enjoy them, taking pleasure in their suffering. It probably speaks to some sadistic quality in me, but we'll save the psychoanalysis of myself for another video. That's not to say that Sam's parents never crossed the line.
Were you masturbating?
Professor, I'd do anything for an A.
I mean, unless you have like a big...
What the fuck?
Huh. It's mostly Judy, it seems. Well, the point is that Ron and Judy are very human characters. They're like the quintessential parents. I think a lot of people can see parts of their parents in them. And they do have some moving scenes in the next movie, even if Revenge of the Fallen is generally a burning train wreck. So Sam heads out, but not before Bumblebee expels black smoke, most likely from being forced to listen to the Witwickies all day. That's great. But if Bumblebee was so annoyed, why didn't he just drive away? What's that, you say? That would have blown his cover? Given his actions throughout the rest of the movie, I don't think he cares about that. Yeah, I have some problems with Bumblebee. Also, I guess all the paperwork has been taken care of since Sam is now driving Bumblebee. Yay! Next, we get a quick interlude showing that Lennox's team, as well as Mahfouz, survived the attack and are trekking across the deserts of Qatar. We also see Sarah's reaction to the news of the attack on Soxent, while Keller says the U.S.'s military bases are now DEFCON Delta. For those who don't know, DEFCON, or Defense Readiness Condition, is the system used by the United States military to indicate the nation's readiness to go to war. The lower the number, the higher the likelihood of attack. So stop saying DEFCON 12 or whatever to say how crazy something is. It doesn't go that way. DEFCON 1 is the highest. Now, DEFCON Delta is not a thing. What it seems the writers got confused with is something called Force Protection Conditions, or FPCON, which goes Normal, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta. It's a system indicating the likelihood of an attack on an individual base. FPCON Delta is the highest level of readiness for military bases, but it's not DEFCON. That's something different. Michael Bay had such a good working relationship with the military. I don't get how they didn't run little things like this by them, just to get it right. It literally only took me 20 minutes of internet research to find this out. That's another strike against you, Orsi and Kurtzman. Get good. We then cut to Lennox's team talking about what the hell they just witnessed. They say how they've never seen a weapon system like what they saw, which makes sense. If you saw a giant robot, you would think that it's some kind of advanced weapon from an enemy nation as opposed to an alien life form. So, good on you guys. You know how to write some things. Epps also drops a strange line about looking like Blackout surrounded by a force field. This is strange because this is never brought up again in any of the movies, and no Transformer seems to have such an ability in this film.
What you need is a force field.
The closest thing is the radar jamming that is said to be in the vicinity of Scorponok a bit later. But even this ability doesn't seem to be consistent across the Cybertronians, or even with Scorponok. I'm guessing this is a dropped plot element. While Lennox lays out the plan to go to Mahfouz's village and find a phone so that they can call the Pentagon and warn them of the threat, Epps drops the first clue that they might be dealing with something more than an enemy weapon. He says the thing saw him. Meanwhile, something else sees them. Scorponok. Now, I've already gone over how it's stupid that he didn't kill them at Soxent, but why can't he kill them now? Why does he have to wait until they get to the village? And, also, what is this tank? Where did it come from and where did it go?
Where did you come from? Where did you go?
It's only in this scene. Did they take it from the base? If so, why do they not have it when they reach the village? Pure nonsense. But its purity has nothing on the immaculate, virgin, untainted nonsense of some decisions made later. Also, I think this would have been a good scene to have Blackout talk to Starscream about what Scorponok is doing. It would give us good character development between the two, and help make it clear to the audience just what the Silent Hunter wants exactly. But instead, Bay and the writers seem hell-bent on keeping us in the dark about the Decepticons' plans. But it's not like there's some big twist. Everything plays out how we would expect. Why can't we get a scene of Starscream talking to someone else, damn it? Back in the States, Sam drives Bumblebee to the lake with his dumb friend Miles to do something. I guess he's going to flex his beat-up 30-year-old car next to Trent's shiny Hummer. Okay, bro. Good plan to get the girl. I'll try that one next time. See how it works for me. So they roll up and totally crash this party, along with these cameramen. And Trent immediately calls them out, grilling them on why they're here. But don't worry, Sam is quick on his feet. So he comes back with...
We're here to climb this tree.
Yeah. After Trent embarrassingly reminds Sam that he failed in his tryouts for the football team, Sam actually has a good comeback. That he was writing a book about the link between brain damage and football.
You know, it's got mazes in it and, you know, little coloring areas, sections, pop-up pictures. It's a lot of fun.
Way to go, Sam!
Perhaps I misjudged you.
He actually stands up for himself against the jock douchebag. And luckily for him, before Trent decides to deck him, Mikaela diffuses the situation, only for her to get pissed at Trent because he won't let her drive his car, so she decides to walk home. Meanwhile, Sam tells Miles to evacuate the tree and admonishes him for making them look stupid while Miles pretends girls were actually watching him. As they beat a hasty retreat to Bumblebee, Sam notices Mikaela walking, and being the world's third-greatest detective behind only Sherlock Holmes and Batman, he deduces that she had some kind of falling out with Trent. So, Sam seems like he's aiming for Mikaela, and, you know, fair enough, I get the physical appeal, but she was, until a few minutes ago, dating Trent, right? He has quite the hurdle to overcome to get to her, namely Trent's big arms and his 22-inch tires. Like I said, kid's got determination. But, against all odds, things seem to fall into his lap. And, as he ponders all of this, the radio mysteriously starts to play. Why is Bumblebee helping Sam? Clearly, he's doing this out of selfless compassion and not a need for the mission. Do not tell me he's already grown attached to Sam. I don't buy that. This behavior is something we should be seeing in the second movie. Bumblebee should be focused on his mission of getting the glasses so the Autobots can find the Allspark. I know Optimus says that he's Sam's guardian, which seems like some kind of official title, but surely that just means his primary job is to make sure nothing happens to Sam before the Autobots get the glasses. And obviously that doesn't mean that the Autobots are cold and heartless, that they don't care what happens to Sam otherwise. But just like the Secret Service is primarily focused on protecting the President rather than other people, Bumblebee has his primary objective. And we could have had fun with that in this movie as we see all the Autobots morph into caring about the humans in particular. So, I guess B thinks that getting Sam laid will somehow help him get the glasses? For some reason, I doubt that's the thought process. Also, how does Bumblebee know about human relationships? I suppose we don't know how long he's been on Earth. The tie-in comics say 4 years, and if we want to look to the last night, then he's been here since at least the 40s. I suppose it makes sense if he's been around since World War II, but obviously that creates all kinds of other problems. But we'll save that for future videos. So far, we're only looking at this movie and pretending none of the others exist. So Bumblebee somehow knows about human relationships and decides to abandon his objective to instead help Sam with his objective of betting the evil jock concubine, as Miles puts it. Sam then kicks Miles out of his car and essentially out of the movie, much to the relief of everyone involved, and drives after Mikaela. Another quick side note. Sam knows Mikaela lives 10 miles away, so he knows where she lives, even though she doesn't even know his name, as we later learn. Stalker much? Sam convinces Mikaela to get in his car and they drive off. After Mikaela says that she has a weakness for stereotypical jocks, Sam tries to show off his muscles in a cringeworthy way.
So the light reflects off the disco ball.
Smooth. Then Mikaela asks if Sam is new to school, and Sam has to inform her that they've been in the same school since first grade. Really, Mikaela? You don't recognize him after seeing him in school for about a decade and sharing multiple classes together? This takes obliviousness to another level. It's really beyond believability. I mean, he just hawked his great-grandfather's crap in the classroom yesterday, for God's sake. Surely that leaves an impression. In fact, look at her face in that scene. This looks like the face of a girl who is romantically interested in Sam. Even if it isn't romantic, she at least finds him endearing. Certainly, she is paying attention, but now she doesn't seem to remember him. Then she suddenly stumbles upon Sam's name in her memory, even though he just told it to her 5 minutes ago, showing she wasn't paying attention then either. Yep, she's a keeper. What does Sam like about her anyways? Oh, right. Also, what's with this bright light outside the car? I'll tell you what it's about. It's so you don't see that the car isn't moving as they film this scene because the filmmakers are no good slackers. Next, Bumblebee gets the brilliant idea to fake engine trouble and come to a stop at this cliff. Nope. Nothing more pressing. Nothing at all. Mikaela gets out and checks under the hood, revealing that her father was a mechanic and she learned about cars from him. This is good foreshadowing and gives Mikaela something more to her character. Something that I think puts her over Carly and Tessa, who were kind of just there. Mikaela has a skill that comes in handy later in the movie and in the next one. They probably could have leaned into it more, but that's par at this point. So after Mikaela says guys, especially Trent, don't like it when a girl knows more about cars than they do, Sam asks a perfectly reasonable question.
You know, if Trent's such a jerk, why do you hang out with him?
Everyone is wondering the same thing, my guy. It probably speaks to something about Mikaela's personality, and what do you know? Here it is!
You know what? I'm gonna walk.
What a dick move. Sam asks you one slightly uncomfortable question, and you're just going to leave him here? Not even admit defeat and wait with him for the tow truck? You know, I think Miles was right. She is evil. Sam then desperately tries to get the car started again when Bumblebee miraculously comes back to life and Mikaela decides to ride with Sam again. For some reason. The more bizarre thing, though, is that Sam still wants Mikaela. I mean, she doesn't listen, didn't know they had been in school together for years, is often short and rude, and then just abandoned him when things got a little awkward. What does he even see in her again? Oh, right. And here's another thing. Why is Sam not more suspicious of Bumblebee, given the freak occurrences at the dealership and now all of this? I don't think he'd make the jump to alien robot from another planet, but I would think he at least would come up with
Satan's Camaro.
His acting up seems to be more than just strange coincidences. There seems to be an intelligence behind it. But I guess Sam's got other things on his mind than the oddities of his new car. So Sam drops Mikaela off at her place, and she thanks him for listening. Again, ironic considering she doesn't do the same. And then she asks,
You think I'm shallow?
Well, kind of, but don't worry, Mikaela. Teenage boys don't care about that. So you're good. For now, at least. The writers could have tried to make her a bit more relatable. Someone we could empathize with. They don't really try to do that until later in the movie when it's revealed her father's in prison. I get the switcheroo where they get you thinking one thing about a character only to have that flipped through some revelation. But you have to give us something about the character first. It can't just be a barren wasteland with no characterization. The movie makes it pretty clear you're supposed to like her, at least before that moment. Again, you could just make a few tweaks to her character, like making her a bit more humble or caring, perhaps a little more selfless. Not a complete change, but give her more traits than just her physicality. Then you hit us with the revelation about her father, making it all the more impactful.
I think there's a lot more than meets the eye with you.
Smooth pickup lines with Sam Witwicky, everybody. With chops like this, he doesn't have to worry about being a 40-year-old virgin. But, all things considered, I do like the line. It's supposed to be a little cringy, and it's a nice callback to the Transformers tagline. The interaction between Sam and Mikaela seems good and genuine here. It's just a shame how we got here. But this feels like the start of a budding teenage romance. Good on you, Orsi and Kurtzman. You can do some things, just do them more often.
Oh my god, I love my car.
Really? Because I think you succeeded in spite of Bumblebee, not because of him. So B's 0 for 2. He sucks at his mission from Prime to save the planet, and he sucks at his own mission to help Sam.
You're wonderful, you're wonderful.
Exciting stuff, huh? The first act is moving apace. Next time, we'll take a little ride on Air Force One, and I'll show you more reasons why Bumblebee sucks as a character. Now, let's go out and find more stories to experience. Then I'll meet you back here where we'll examine another one. Until next time, I've been Paul, and this has been Plot Spot.